We're going to build the best football team in the SEC Conference. We're going to build the best football program in the SEC Conference.
You have now arrived at Stadium in Gale.
The kick, it's been blocked again! How about it? It's been blocked again! It's going to heat one deep down the field. It's going to be to the goal line. It's going to be gone! It's a touchdown! And the Gators have won the game! Tyreek Cleveland! How about it? I can't believe what I just saw! Dropping back to throw. Pops and fires the ball over the middle. It's Dory! It's Dory! Got a touchdown! Dory got a touchdown! Oh, man! Dory's got a touchdown! Ahmad Black, in his final game as a Gator, takes it all the way home and sends Urban out the winner.
You have now arrived at Stadium in Gale.
Boys and girls, ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of Stadium in Gale. It's your boy Corey.
It's Dan.
And Delatorre.
Same corner, definitely a different date and time, man. My guy Dan, fresh off of his DR trip. How was it, man? How you feeling?
It was a good vacation. Glad to be back. I dealt with a lot of the traveling issues that other people dealt with this weekend, but mine were weather delayed in Miami, so we were supposed to get back at 5:30, 5:45 on Monday. Got back at almost 1 a.m. So definitely a long travel day on Monday, but great time down in the DR. A lot of great memories that we created there. I don't think I'll be going back to the Hard Rock Punta Cana in the rest of the wonderful years that I have left. But shout out to people at Dominican Republic. Definitely a great group of people down there. Some good food, and we're able to get out of the resort for a little while too and meet some locals. And so I had a great time. But next time I go back, I think we're going to have a different destination point. It was for a wedding. So.
Yeah. I seen you, man. You doing some excursions and whatnot?
Yeah, we went, it was cool. We did a dune buggy. So it was at this like huge plantation, I guess. So they had a dune buggy thing that we did. And then they had a cenote, which is like a pool inside of a cave. So that was a lot of fun. And then at this plantation, they also grow pineapple. So they make Mama Juana there, which is a pineapple wine. They make chocolate.
I thought it was something else, bro.
Dude, the first time he said it. So everything that they say on the tour, by the way, we're the only English speaking people on this tour. So everything that they said was in Spanish first. And then they asked if anybody only spoke English. And I was like, man, I know about 15% of the words that you're saying. Should we just go with it? Right. But the first time he said Mama Juana, I thought he said marijuana. So I looked at Brooke. I'm like, what's going on? This wasn't in the list of things that we're doing. Pineapple, chocolate, tobacco, and I'm forgetting one other thing, but really cool. That was definitely the highlight of the trip. But that was my first time ever dune buggying. And then Brooke said she wanted to drive. So it's my first time ever be just a passenger on one of these excursions. Dude, it was a blast, man. Absolute blast.
Little passenger prince action.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. And then, so the only thing, and I got to bring it up because Nick's got, I don't know, every piece of memorabilia you could have. On Monday, I'm sitting at the airport, just kind of exhausted from the weekend, as you can imagine, get an email from the Masters. And it just says, you've been selected. Buddy, 18 years of trying. I finally got myself some Masters tickets for Wednesday. So I'll
snaps.
Talking with Nick about it a little bit before, but I think I'm going to finally be able to go to the Masters next year.
That's fire, bro.
Shout out to the lottery.
The only cure to a pineapple wine hangover is winning the Masters lottery.
I'm telling you what.
Pineapple wine's crazy.
Dude, I tell you what.
No mas.
It's different. It's not something that I would add to the cellar here, but I appreciate trying something different. But homemade, hand rolled tobacco or cigars. That was awesome. We're able to take a few back with us as well. So,
nice.
But we definitely had a good time. Before, we need to talk about your birthday first, Corey. Shout out to D. He said, happy belated birthday, dog.
D, what's up, man? Appreciate it, dog. $2, bro. I'm about to take that to the strip club for sure.
Corey, tell us about your birthday, dude.
Man, just super chill. Normally on my birthday, like every summer, I'm on a family vacation. Last year we was in the Carolinas, but every year I've been conveniently aligning the family vacation with my brother, mom, everybody around my birthday time. this year it was just I'm overwhelmed with all these interviews and tailgate stuff that we trying to put together for this Miami game. And also I got a daughter that's about to be a senior. So just everything ain't lining up for me right now to go on a trip and unplug like that. So, bro, I just chilled home, man. Didn't do a whole lot. Spent it with my family. Got some gifts and loves from them. Went out with my mom, had some breakfast, beach vibes in the morning. You know, I gotta go meditate and ground myself in some sand and water, bro. But just chilled, man. Jackie Robinson year, man. 42, big 42. You know, super blessed, bro. Healthy. Don't have any complaints, man. Thank you, man.
Just a quick aside, and then Nick, want to talk about you. I've been listening to you talk a lot about meditation. Brooke took a, what was it, a 10-week yoga teacher program on the weekends for over the course of 5 months. I finally got myself into a yoga routine about a month ago. I'll tell you what, it's the greatest thing.
Life-changing, bro.
Life-changing, man.
Life-changing, dog.
Times a week on top of the shot that I do at the gym, man. But I'll tell you what, there's no better time than I have than when I'm able to unplug at yoga. So if you don't do it, I know not for everybody, but man,
I first got into it. We used to do the culture projects on the old roll-up show. So we would go try different things amongst each other. So I tried it the first time doing one of those. I picked up a lot of it. That's how I ended up going plant-based damn near because of one of those. But went and tried it out, and I left that joint. I was like, all right, that's kind of fire. The first one I went to was hot yoga.
Hot yoga.
I was like, this is terrible. You know what I'm saying? But I get what they're trying to do. Now, the hot yoga ain't my bag, but just yoga, meditation sessions. If they got a sound bowl in that joint, bro.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Fire.
So this was 2 weeks ago. You know, there's this pose called crow pose, and I don't know what I'm doing. Right? I'm still trying to figure it out. Somebody like almost you kind of have to dig your elbows into the side of your knees, and then you just balance up. And one of the girls in the class like said, "Hey, what if I fall?" And the yoga instructor, without missing a beat, he's like, "Yeah, but what if you fly?" I'm like,
yeah, he's sitting out. He's like this.
Tell you what, a different mindset after all that. So anyway, Nick,
the yoga instructor has had an ayahuasca trip to fire back.
100%.
Fire back with that.
You just said something. Whatever. I ain't gonna talk about that on this show.
Nothing. We are getting ready for babies. So painting the nursery. My wife thinks I'm gonna put together the furniture. I'm gonna call someone to put together that furniture.
That's smart. That's really smart.
Listen, work too hard, make real American dollars. I will pay someone said real American dollars.
There's too much at risk, right?
I'm gonna throw.
No, get used to that, bro. Like putting things together, get used to it, bro.
I'm gonna throw the crib through the window, 100%. So I'm just gonna have someone else do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Christmas, I'm gonna tell you right now, bro. Hire somebody for Christmas. Hire somebody for birthdays because you're gonna be putting together doll houses, like a lot of shenanigans, especially with girls that you're gonna have to put together. So hire somebody.
Whenever we bought like furniture, the place would be like, "Hey, it's X amount of dollars to have somebody install it." I'm like, I don't care. Yeah, I'm not putting together this furniture. You have them bring it here, set it up, give them a tip on the way out. Save me the aggravation.
What color you went with? Pink?
It's listen, the other thing too is trying to figure out how many different shades of blue there are. There's like 76 shades of white. Yeah. It's like a sky blue, light blue. If my wife hears this, she won't know. She'll get mad at me because it's some sort of blue. But there's gonna be like a stencil with like houses and all kinds of stuff. So
JP says, Nick, you're in shambles. Tell you what.
Listen, definitely not ready. Definitely not ready. I've got 2 months Thursday.
2 months Thursday.
2 months, bro. You gotta, dog. It's flying by, bro. It's like you just announced this, man.
That's crazy, man. I'm pumped for you. Pumped for
Get some sleep now. Get some sleep now.
Mm-hmm. Like that, and coming in the middle of football season, not ideal.
Yeah. Well,
no, it's perfect time.
You know what I mean?
Perfect time.
Yeah. Well, listen, that's on me.
Yeah, that's
on me. There's no one to put that blame on when the baby comes week 3 September. No one to blame but myself.
Yeah, those are 2-person decisions. So anyway, let's get on the show. We've got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about SEC Media Days. Nick was there. We're going to talk Vernell Brown III, his commitment. We're going to talk about baseball. There's a lot that's happened there. We're going to talk a little basketball. We're going to talk a lot of stuff tonight. It's a late night show. Things get a little weird in here. But before we do that, let's give a quick shout out to our friends over at Home Field Apparel. Go visit homefieldapparel.com. Use promo code Stadium and Gale at checkout. That'll give you 15% off of your order. Best vintage shirts in the game, soft cotton for really any sport, any type of person that you are, any different type of variety that you may think or want, including a baseball pullover that Nick has behind him. There it is, that Nick has there, as well as they have a starter jacket. They got a bunch of different stuff. They got 3/4 sleeve, short sleeve stuff, whatever it might be, baseball, basketball, track and field, an 80s shirt, whatever it might be. Go check out Home Field Apparel. Use promo code Stadium and Gale at checkout. You'll get 15% off of your order. With that being said, up until leading into the season, we're talking each week about 2 different opponents that the Gators are going to play. This week, we're going to welcome UCF Mike to talk about the Gators UCF game here in week 5. So, Mike, it is a pleasure to welcome you to Stadium and Gale, my friend.
Thank you, guys. The honor is all mine. I'm happy to join you guys.
Absolutely, man.
Now, well, Mike, this is a Gator show. Corey wasn't here one day, and I said I might talk myself into picking UCF in the swamp this year. Dan was aghast, the entire chat.
For the next few weeks, as a matter of fact.
Threw me under the bus. I'm still standing on that, though. I think it's a good UCF team, and we're happy to have you here to help us learn more about them.
Mike, you may not be familiar with this show, but he is the negative guy on it. So just to give you some background.
Every show needs one of those. But it's a long ways away. I mean, we're opening training camp next week. We're talking about a game for us. I think it's the 5th game of the year. I don't know if you guys played 5 or 6 going into that.
Yeah, this is going to be our 5th as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's get a little bit into to UCF. A number of transfers into UCF this year, including our former Arkansas quarterback KJ Jefferson, former Florida Gator Trent Whittemore is one of the starting wide receivers on the team. It's a second year in the Big 12, future home of Florida State University. But what can you tell us, Mike, about UCF going into, what is this, year 3 of Gus Malzahn?
This is going to be year 4 with Gus.
Year 4. What do I know?
So usually by year 4, you're thinking the coach has everything in line. He's brought in all of his guys. This is his roster. He's got his system in place. This should be the year for everything to fall in place for UCF. It's the second year now in the Big 12. So last year, a little bit of growing pains in that first season. Had a couple of tough games. A couple of games they should have won too. I mean, UCF fans hate to talk about it, but the Baylor game, they just completely blew at home. They lose a game at Texas Tech where we pretty much outplayed them most of the game, but you miss an extra point, you miss a field goal. The game at Oklahoma, we missed a 2-point conversion. So games could have gone either way. The record could have been better than it was, but there's also a couple games that they won that maybe they shouldn't have. So 6-6 is 6-6. I think that the team and the fans are ready for an improvement this year. I think Gus is telling everybody that they're going to be a lot better this year. Let's see if he could actually put it together.
Is there a sense, big picture question, is there a sense that Gus is in it for the long haul? I know that some other coaches, Scott Frost, have used UCF kind of as a launching pad to go somewhere else. But now that you're in the Big 12, does it feel like Gus has found a home in Orlando? Has he retired like everyone else does in our great state of Florida? Has he moved down to Florida to finish his career?
That's the main thought that is what's going to happen. But there is that outside chance, and we think if he's going to leave, it's going to be for a place like Arkansas, where he's from Arkansas. He's coached there in high school. He grew up coaching in Arkansas. Their coach may be on the hot seat this year. So if he's out of there and they come calling with that SEC money, I mean, it's going to be hard to tell him no. So if Arkansas is off the table, I think he is happy in Orlando right now. He doesn't have to deal with those Auburn boosters on his back every day.
Auburn's wild.
So I think he's happy where he is. I think his family likes being there. I think he's in a good spot in his career where he can coach for another 8-10 years if he really wanted to. He's young enough and really make a name for himself, be that guy at UCF that really O'Leary was here for a while and he was around the same age. So if he could do that same thing, if he was a younger guy, I'd say there's no way he'd take the money and run at the first chance. But I think there's a possibility he stays for a while.
Outside of Fayetteville, Arkansas, the biggest contingent of Arkansas fans, Orlando, Florida. Just win some games, Sam. Win some games.
Yeah, I mean, if Gus were to leave, I don't think that the whole place falls apart. I mean, there's some people here in Orlando that are not thrilled with Gus's game day decisions. He's done a great job with the recruiting. He's done a great job as the face of the program. But if he leaves, I think UCF is now at a spot where we can find another good coach. We've done it 3 times in a row now. Frost came in, Heupel came in, did a good job. I think it's a place, especially now in the Big 12, where you can convince somebody that's a pretty good coach to come in here and do the same job.
I think we probably need to hire y'all athletic director. Y'all are making some good hires.
Oh, it was Danny White that hired Frost and Heupel, and he's at Tennessee now.
Yeah.
Oh man, we got to post Tennessee. Real quick, the athletic director is still there. What am I talking about? I'm familiar with Gus Malzahn's offense. I think it's going to be very similar to what he normally runs, bringing KJ in. A lot shouldn't change offensively with what he wants to do. But who does UCF want to be defensively? I see you guys have a couple transfer. One former linebacker from Florida, Josiah Pierre, and then you have Najee Kelly from Miami. So you do have some talent there through the portal. But what exactly do they want to be defensively?
The biggest problem on the team last year was stopping the run. They could not stop the run at all. Now they played some very good running teams. Texas Tech with the guys they had there. Kansas had a very good rushing attack. Kansas State had a very good rushing attack. But we had a terrible job stopping the run last year. Gus addressed that. He brought in a linebacker from Cincinnati, Deshaun Pace, who's supposed to be an NFL prospect. He brought over Ladarius Tennyson, who was from Ole Miss before that. He was at Auburn with Gus, has some familiarity. He's more of a hybrid safety linebacker guy. Right. So he's addressed it. Ethan Barr, another linebacker he's brought in. So let's see how this works out. I mean, you know that the transfer portal is hit or miss. These guys all have good resumes. Can they come in? Can they adjust to the system? He also hired a new defensive coordinator in Ted Roof. So changing up the whole system a little bit. His first couple years here, he had young defensive coordinators. Last year, Addison Williams was a first-year defensive coordinator. Was he a little overwhelmed in the Big 12 the first year? That's possible. Ted Roof is a guy with experience, is a guy that Gus has worked with before. They were both on the same staff in Auburn when they won a national championship. So I think he likes that about him. That's what really needs to improve is the run defense. I think you have guys in the secondary that you feel like can do a good job, but can we stop the run?
I know that's going to be the biggest question that Saturday is who can stop the run, because KJ Jefferson, after Dan Enos was fired for not letting a 6'4", 240-pound running quarterback run. KJ Jefferson ran all over Florida, but it's not just that. UCF has a great backfield. I think there's like 3,000 yards and 31 touchdowns in the backfield. And Gus Malzahn's offenses have always been spread the field and run the ball into space. So I think that tackling, and you probably into the second month of the season, you're probably getting, hopefully rounding into form tackling wise. But I think that's going to be one of the biggest keys to the game. Who can stop the other team from running the football? Yeah, and that is going to be UCF's bread and butter this year. The running game, they were very good last year. RJ Harvey finally came into his own. He had some injury issues his first couple of years, but last year, over 1,400 yards. They added a guy like Penny Boone from Toledo, who also ran for 1,400 yards last year. He started his career at Louisville. Very good player. And then guys forget about Johnny Richardson, who's been here, seems like 10 years, but a very good player, quick guy. He did some damage against the Gators in the Gasparilla Bowl a couple years ago with a couple big plays.
I'm like losing. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And then they had a running back from Cincinnati, Miles Montgomery. So the running back room is probably the best position we have at UCF.
I remember I like Penny Boone a lot, but I remember him hitting the portal, big physical running back that's going to be an NFL guy for sure. Where did he go before? He went somewhere else first for spring, and then ended up at UCF. Am I wrong on that? Or did you guys get him initially out of the pool?
I think he went from Maryland to Toledo to Louisville, and then Louisville to UCF.
Correct. Okay. Did he actually play fall at Louisville or no?
No, he played at Toledo last season. Yeah.
Okay.
So you'll love this name too. The backup to KJ Jefferson is Ja'Cory Brown.
Oh yeah. Miami, that's my guy right there. Yeah, I need him to get a lot of reps for you guys, man.
You guys got obviously a lot of transfers, a lot of new folks. Talk to us a little bit about the offense. I know Kobe Hudson is a solid wide receiver. I know Trent Whittemore, Gator fans are familiar with him and his brother. Obviously, you have KJ Jefferson. You have RJ Harvey at running back. You have Penny Boone. You have Johnny Richardson as well. I know that you just mentioned him. From an offensive perspective, I know that you said that they're going to run the ball. How's the offensive line looking? How does a passing attack look like with Xavier Townsend, Kobe Hudson, and Trent Whittemore?
Yeah, the big question mark on the offense has to be the offensive line. You've got 3 guys that you feel solid are probably going to be starters. Caden Kittler at center. You've got Marcellus Marshall and Amari Kite that most likely will be your tackles. Marshall can move inside to guard. But it's going to be a competition in fall camp to see who locks up those other 2 spots. That's going to be the key, obviously, to opening up the holes in the running game, protecting KJ Jefferson. And then you mentioned the receivers, Kobe Hudson and Townsend. We feel comfortable with those 2 guys. The question is, who's the 3rd guy? Whittemore could be that guy. I like him because he's got the size. He's a 6'4", big kid. They also brought in another kid from Ohio, Jacoby Jones, another big receiver. I think those guys complement the smaller, quicker guys well. So I think that's going to be a big question coming in. And then how do they use the tight ends? Because in the last couple of years since Malzahn's been here, we have not really utilized them very much. Last year, Randy Pittman, young guy, started to come on a little bit towards the second half of the year. He looks like he's going to be that main guy at tight end. You also have a freshman coming in, Kylan Fox, who they moved from tight end to wide receiver. Another big body where I look out for him to make an impact early.
I like Kylan Fox a lot. Committed to FSU, I think, out of the gate, or it was down to you guys, and FSU ended up going to UCF. Another good get. You guys got some talent for sure.
That's the thing, but that's the thing that I was saying about UCF. Like, Gus has done a good job in the transfer portal. This isn't like when Florida and UCF would play in 1997. Like, this is a different UCF roster. There's talent. I think they match up skill wise pretty well with a Florida or an SEC team. Florida might be a little bit deeper. Dan, you kept mentioning Trent Whittemore, and I'm like, man, I thought he was going to be a dude at Florida. Hometown kid, sneaky athletic, sneaky fast, big kid.
Well, I gotta be sneaky.
One tail guy.
Gym rat.
Yeah.
Son of a coach.
He's got the measurables. He's just got to put it all together. He hasn't had that breakout season yet. So maybe this is the year for him.
Hopefully.
How do you feel about the trenches on both sides of the ball? Usually when we play UCF or the USFs, usually we come in bigger, stronger in the trenches. How do you feel about you guys at the line of scrimmage?
Defensively, I like the 3 main guys we have up front. You're talking about John Walker, who was a guy that was talking about going to Florida a couple years ago. I had a very good freshman year. Ricky Barber and Lee Hunter are some big bodies right there in the middle. Those guys have done a good job. Barber's had injury issues. Can he stay healthy for a whole year? That's a question. But I like those guys in the middle. Malachi Lawrence on the outside, 7.5 sacks last year, kind of had a breakout season for him. If he can improve on that, then we're really in business, with the defensive line. So I like where the defensive line is. They've got experience. Offensive line, like I mentioned before, it's still a question mark how they're going to jumble up that line. They need to figure it out in the first couple weeks. We start the season with New Hampshire, and then you get Sam Houston. But after that, then you're jumping into conference play at TCU and then Dion at home before we play you guys.
Now, Florida gets a bye week. I have a kid on the way, so who knows if I'll get clearance for this. But Florida's got a bye week before they play UCF. And I might have to slide down to see UCF and Colorado.
That's going to be an atmosphere. I don't know if you guys have been to Orlando for a game or a big game.
I went to UCF. Yeah,
That's why he's on here lying. That's why he's on here lying for UCF.
I went to UCF. We
That's
did
why he's
lots
lying
of,
for
we
him.
did. See, but back in like 2010, 11, 12, we just did a lot of tailgating, and then the game would start, and we'd like then go to the bars and watch the game at the bar. But it's definitely a much better environment now than it was when I was in college.
But those years we even had the stadium on campus. I was at school in 98, 99, 2000. We played at the Citrus Bowl.
Oh, what a dump.
And that's what it was like for us. We went out there. Yeah, that place is a dump. But we went out there with a keg, and I didn't go into the game probably till middle of the second quarter.
Yeah, we had shoot, what's it called? Is it Millennia? Man, I'm old now. No. There's a strip of grass that everyone would go and tailgate at.
Memory Mall.
There it is.
Memory Mall. It used to be a dirt parking lot when I was in school there, and they turned it into a nice area for the kids to hang out. I've actually always been too old to even tailgate there. So when the stadium was on campus, the stadium got built in 2007. I had already graduated 5 years earlier. So I never got that student experience with a stadium on campus. I wasn't spoiled, but die hard that it made me into.
You were braving it, eating hot dogs, which who knows how old they were when they were cooked at the Citrus Bowl.
Yeah. but the good thing is I had drank enough beer before the game. I didn't really matter.
I didn't care. Just needed a glizzy to soak up the alcohol.
That's right.
Mike, what can you tell us about UCF second year? Just kind of big picture for you guys. I know that you mentioned, this is kind of not a put up or shut up year, but there's definitely higher expectations. Obviously, last year didn't start off the way UCF fans probably wanted. I know it ended up a little bit better. But what does year two look like, or year two in the Big 12 look like for UCF?
Yeah, I think a lot of us are expecting to compete for the conference. The schedule is a lot more favorable this year than it was last year. Last year, a lot of travel, a lot of long travel. At a conference, we had to go to Boise State. Then we had long trips to Lubbock and Oklahoma. This year, I mean, we got you guys. It's at a conference in the state. We don't leave the state of Florida. I think we moved the state of Florida once in the first month and a half when we go to TCU. So the schedule is a lot more favorable. We don't play those teams that can run the ball really well like we did last year. So Kansas State's not on the schedule. Oklahoma State with Ollie Gordon is not on the schedule. Kansas is not on the schedule. So I like the way those things work out. We get Dion at home. We get Utah at home.
I got to come to that one.
Finale. That's going to be a big one.
UCF's going to smack Dion.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope so.
How early in the season is it? Because Dion is a front runner. So how early in the season?
4.
Week 4? Oh, no, y'all losing that.
No. Week 4 on the road.
Yeah.
They have
some celebrities and all, man. Y'all losing that.
It's going to be hyped up.
Nick's surprisingly positive about UCF, though. Like, he's super negative about my Gators on here, but he's just like, nah, we're beating Prime.
I've covered Florida for 11 years, and there's been 5 losing seasons. So, like, you're saying that I'm negative when I'm just reporting what I'm watching at work.
It's been a while for you guys. I mean, the Tim Tebow days are now 15 years ago. Yeah, you're more known for Marco Wilson throwing a shoe, and
that's not true.
Oh my God, don't do that to Marco.
I mean, since Urban, we've had even the bad coaches. We've had runs with every bad coach but Billy Napier, but we had runs with Muschamp where we should have probably made the national championship. Same McElwain, we went to the SEC championship. Mullen, the same thing. Like we had some runs, but we also had some poverty in between. So don't just give us all the.
But now we've entered the Charlie Pell years again with Billy Napier.
No.
2 years, the worst 2 years to start a career as a Florida coach since Charlie Pell. I mean, if he has a losing season this year, it's 3 years in a row. That's never happened to you guys before, right?
No, we're already at 3. I think we're at 3 now. It'll be 4 years in a row.
It's about 3 straight years for Billy Napier. There's probably a pretty high chance that UCF comes into this game undefeated. What do you think the overall record for UCF is this year?
Man, I do a prediction every year on our podcast, and every year, spoiler alert, I've picked us to win every single game every year. That's just the way
I like you. I like you.
Homer energy.
Yeah, you lie like me.
Because I go into each week thinking we have a chance to win. Really, we haven't gotten blown out very many times in the last few years. That's
what I've been saying.
That's
what I've been saying too.
Yeah. So I feel like we should be in every game, and we are in most games. I would be happy with a 9-3, 10-2. I mean, I'd be ecstatic with 10-2. I just want to be in it. The last couple of weeks, I want to have a shot where we're still alive to play for the conference championship game. I want that game against Utah in the final week of the season to mean something where if we win, we're in. That would make me happy. If we're 6-5 again going into that game, it's a disappointment. If we're 7-4, I'm not really thrilled about it. People, I mean, the middle ground says we'll go 8-4, something like that. But there's a couple tough games on the road at West Virginia late in the year where you probably get some cold weather. Utah's going to be a tough game. You never know what's going to happen in Florida, I suppose. Even though I think the UCF fan is very confident going into that game. I'll let you guys know now.
Coming into my venue?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, they think they swamp because they're coming into town.
They're putting their dirty shoes on your couch, Silk.
No, that's not happening. Respect my venue.
I will be there. There's gonna be a lot of us. I'll tell you that.
Dude, I'm still wrapping my mind around the conference realignment. You just said like Utah. I'm like, oh yeah, Utah's in the Big 12 now. That's a conference opponent now. Soon to be FSU. Yeah,
so this is our second year in the Big 12. We have 2 of the same opponents we played last year in our first Big 12 year. So the schedule is completely different. We added 4 more teams this year. We didn't even play everybody last year. So it's a whole new conference again for us, which makes it fun.
The SEC needs to hire your scheduling person because Florida's playing the exact same schedule this year and next year in the SEC. They just decide, hey, let's just run it back and just reverse who's home and who's away.
Athletic director, bro.
You guys at least this year are playing us and you're playing Miami. So you're playing all the big Florida schools, which is different.
Well, and Florida State.
I think both of those. State, right? Yeah, I think all 3 of those games are going to be determined a lot. I think as far as favorability and favor with the fan base with Billy Napier. Like he lose to UCF, we're going to lose our shit. Excuse the language. Like it might be over, to be honest with you. We might riot the place.
Yeah, that's what a lot of UCF fans are saying. We may be the reason they fire him that day. Does he make it off the field? If you guys are 2-3 at the end of that game and we just beat you by 2 touchdowns, does he make it off the field that day?
I doubt it.
Yeah, it's probably not. I just don't. I don't know. I don't know if that happens.
A lot of money to fire him.
That's a lot of money to fix the stadium too.
You guys got plenty of money. Divert some of the stadium funds. Then it is interesting because there definitely is still that big brother little brother mentality. I think with the fan base, and if you're talking about the perception and the fans buying into a coach who right now is 11-14. I don't know that you can turn it around outside of winning out if you lose to Miami and to UCF in the first 5 games.
Yeah, I'm rooting for you guys week 1. I don't like you guys, I'll be honest, but I don't like Miami and I don't like Florida State. But I think it's better for us if you guys beat Miami that first week. So I'll be rooting for you week 1. And then I actually would like to see you guys win all your games up to us and make that. Would that make for a possibility of a college game day? Because they already announced that it's a night game in the Swamp. You think possibility if you guys are 4-0, we're 4-0, could it be?
I'm be honest with you, man. Like I don't have a lot of faith in Billy Napier, right? Like I'm a cheer for him and support him, but I got a lot of faith into the venue. A night game in the Swamp, UCF. I know y'all bringing a lot of people. The noise is definitely going to be a factor, but us winning games up to that, fans being engaged is definitely going to matter. But if we're undefeated going into that game, kiss the baby, Mike.
You know what? That's what I want because I don't want like in 2021 any excuses. Oh, this is a game we don't care about. Oh, we were playing with our backup.
Listen,
come on, Mike.
None of that.
Mike, that is an excuse, but like nobody wanted one. I didn't want to be in the Citrus Bowl or Gasparilla Bowl. I didn't want to be in Tampa that weekend.
Everybody was in the portal, baby.
Play football.
Look, we were playing with a backup quarterback too. Mikey Keene was a true freshman. Remember, we had Dylan Gabriel. If Dylan Gabriel plays that game, we win that game by 6 touchdowns. Let's all be honest here. You guys were just not good that year. We weren't even that great that year. We weren't that great that year.
Our whole roster was going, man. Like we had guys declare early. You guys didn't play the Florida team of that year. Who I think Anthony Richardson was out of there. Who was our quarterback? What's his name? I forgot it. Jack Miller was the quarterback.
No,
that's Oregon State. Wrong bowl. But we had backups, man. Like wrong bowl loss.
We were playing with like 18 guys that were backups too throughout the year. So that's what I'm saying. I don't want any excuses. So I want you guys to be 4-0. I want you guys to be hyped up. I want it to be a night game. I want all the excuses. You're coming off a bye week. There's nothing, no excuses coming into this game, so that when we win, there's nothing else you can say. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of
6 years.
It's one of those trap games for Florida. You win, you're expected to win. You lose, and maybe Billy Napier gets fired. Who knows? I mean, there's no real benefit that Florida gets. I mean, maybe you guys are undefeated. Maybe you're ranked at that time, but Florida has the expectation right now to win that game, right? And the pundits expect Florida today to probably win that game. I don't know what the line is.
It's going to be one of the few games that they're favored to win this year.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, this is a game that Florida has to win. And if you lose, then the wheels fall off, depending on where they are and how loose they are already. Did you hit a pothole and one falls off? Or is it already like a rickety dune buggy and they already fallen off anyway?
Yeah, I think I'm looking at Mike real quick. I don't think we're going to get a game day.
No, I don't think Florida UCF is going to be a game day. Nick.
Looking at that schedule, Michigan's at Washington, Miami at Cal, Clemson at Florida State.
The Michigan-Washington, that's a Fox game, probably.
Oh, that's right.
That'll be Big Ten, whatever they call it, Big Ten game, big day.
Right, both undefeated could definitely pull a game day.
Florida State, Clemson. Is that what you said? That'd probably be the one.
Yeah, Clemson at Florida State.
Yeah,
well, who knows?
Which is going to be a Big 12 game soon.
Yeah, maybe they get the SEC Network game or whatever it might be. So, well, Mike, we're going to let you run, man. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. We'll definitely have you on during the season, either before or after this game. Maybe 2 more times. Who knows? We'll see. But Mike, let everybody know where they can follow you, man. It was a pleasure to have you on. I appreciate you standing your ground on fighting the good fight for your Golden Knights or Citronauts, whatever you guys.
Take Nick with you, man. You need a nigga.
Yeah, you need another for your podcast.
I went to a lot of school with a lot of guys like Nick that went to UCF and rooted for other teams. Drove me nuts.
He don't root for us.
I don't know if I want.
I don't root for anybody. I hate every team, apparently.
Anyway, I do a podcast every week. It's called The Sons of UCF. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on YouTube. We have all kinds of other spin-off shows going on YouTube too. Every week, me and my partner Adam, we do like 2.5 hours where we talk everything UCF, and then we get off on tangents too and talk about other stuff. So it's a good time. I look forward to joining you guys again, maybe before the game if you want to do that. Or
maybe before and after. Who knows?
After would probably be the sweetest. So I'll be happy to do that.
If we lose, we're not talking to you afterwards, bro.
You're gonna hear from me one way or another. I can promise you.
I'm about to decompress, baby.
We appreciate you for coming on, Mike. We appreciate UCF Man, a number of other UCF fans in the chat today. Before you leave UCF Man 94, make sure you hit that like button and definitely hit that the subscribe button and that super chat for us having to read through your comments as well. So, Mike, we appreciate you, and we'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Thank you, boys.
Thank you.
Shout out to Mike, man.
All right, shout out to Mike. All right, guys, let's get into a couple of.
I like that. I like that.
I like George, man. George is my guy in the comments, man. He's just been.
Yeah,
everybody's laughing at this. What's up? What up?
Still in off season, like the lies haven't started flowing yet, but I felt like Mike talking about his team.
August 1st, man.
Kind of got you ready. Though, Silk. It looked like you were like, "Oh, I didn't know we were sparring. We're ready to go, though."
I'm feeling good, man. I just been talking to people close to the program, man. I heard some Elijah Badger could be better than Ricky Pearsall talk, dog. You putting him beside Trey Wilson, dog, it could get ugly a little bit, man. I just got to see, what Billy gonna do with the play calls, man. But I'm ready to lie August 1st.
I love it. All right, let's get into a few other announcements here today. Over the weekend, a lot of stuff happened. Let's just kind of do this in order of which I've pulled the articles here. So first things first, former Florida Director of Scouting, Joe Hamilton, who left back in February to go to Texas A&M, is officially back in Gainesville. He was hired as the Texas A&M Assistant General Manager. So 5 months later, he is back in Gainesville. He was instrumental in the landing of DJ Lagway. He is known as one of, if not the best staff members when it comes to recruiting. Previously, he was at Louisiana, just an unbelievable recruiter and guy to bring back to the program. So don't know what, elicited the change. I've been to College Station. I kind of have a general idea. But Nick, is there any light that you can share on Joe Hamilton coming back, or is it just good news for the Gators?
Well, certainly it's good news for the Gators. And especially with, like you mentioned, I don't think DJ Lagway's in Gainesville without that relationship with Joe Hamilton and the Lagways. I don't know. I talked to a couple people out in College Station. They said none of the recruits that they talked to had really mentioned Joe. I mean, you look at Joe's back in the building 6 hours, and there's a kid from Texas who commits it or not commits, but tweets that he has an offer from Florida and mentions Joe. And I'm like, the guy that you guys are telling me about is not the guy that we witnessed here for 2 years.
Nick, we sent him the spy real quick.
That's what it was.
Yeah, we just sent him get some intel.
Hey, go grab Bateman's playbook and bring that back for us.
No, we won't need it. We know what it's in that.
No, keep the playbook, but
that's rubbish. A chicken scratch, man.
Let me know the rest.
I'm glad he's back though, because I mean we're struggling recruiting wise, trying to sell this thing. And if we do have a successful season, I do think this staff can recruit and they can reboot and close on some things. And you're gonna need guys like him to close, man. So I don't know what went to get him back. I thought these contracts are a little bit different. I guess like you can exchange and move like that with off the field jobs.
Yeah, I don't totally know how some of their contracts work. I don't know if they're just W-2 employees and right to work situations or W-2. So whatever it might be, Joe Hamilton's back in Gainesville. It's kind of teased for a couple days before the announcement came out, I think, on Sunday. So welcome back to Gainesville, Joe Hamilton. With that being said, let's talk a little bit about recruiting. Gators grabbed the bell cow so far of this recruiting class by getting Vernell Brown III. He will be the third generation of Florida Gator football players from Jones High School, wide receiver, 5'10 and a half, 173 pounds, ranked in the On3 industry ranking as the number 33 overall player in the country, the number 6 wide receiver, and the number 5 player overall. He was down to Florida, Ohio State, Miami, Florida State, a few other schools there. Looked to be at the end to be a Florida, Ohio State, Miami battle. But you guys, the Gators have been really struggling in recruiting this year. So you definitely cannot oversell this get for the Gators at all. Also has a 4.91 grade point average. So definitely a student athlete himself. 2023 season, 70 receptions, 1,363 yards, and 10 touchdowns. So your thoughts on Vernell Brown III?
Real quick, that's when you're 40 times lower than your GPA. Solid GPA. Solid GPA. That. No, it's just a solid GPA.
Oh, yeah. He's also flying. Super athletic kid. I like everything. I could just talk about his skill set all day, but he's one of those kids. If he's not a legacy kid, you wonder if he could stick. But getting a kid like that, I think, sticks because of him being a legacy. You add into the room of very good wide receivers. They're recruiting the receiver position, I think, well. Last cycle we was concerned about the size, but you look from each class, I think they brought in playmakers, and they're just continuing on this cycle. We want Billy Gonzalez to do more, I guess, on the field now. But on the trail, I don't know if it's Billy Napier, who has a long track record of landing and developing wide receivers, or it's Billy Gonzalez. But playmakers, bell cow guy that's going to go bring in more playmakers alongside him. DJ Lagway is the guy that they're going to be playing with. Elite arm, got elite legs and arms to throw to. Got to get some guys in the trenches. But shout out to Zach Alberverdi for the commit video. I thought that was absolute gas, man. That's my dude. Fire content, but enjoyed the content and also the commit, man. We're in a good place right now in the receiver room. The class is a lot more to add to it.
Right. Yeah. Right now ranked 31st overall in the country, 13th in the SEC, average class score of 87.19. He is the third player in this class that's ranked in the top 91 players in the country. Vernell Brown, number 38, Jalen Wiggins, number 91, and Joshua Moore, 57 in this class. So definitely a little top heavy. Tayshawn Gelsey, the tight end from Riverside High School in Jacksonville, also got a huge bump up. We didn't talk about it last week, but he's now ranked the 263rd player in the country. Also important to note, the Gators have a 5-star punter for Nick as well. He is one of 17, or was it 27? I think it was 27 5-star punters that are out there.
Yeah,
that's a lot of 5 stars, man. I'm sorry.
That's a lot of 5 stars.
I think they
5 stars ain't what they used to be.
No, but great get for the Gators. Still a long way to go. There is another commitment that was announced, or that is announced that it's going to happen soon, and that's wide receiver Nashawn Montgomery. He's the 182nd best overall player in the country. His commitment is coming in the next few weeks as well. The Gators feel positive about him potentially coming over. In other news, the Florida Gators chief of staff, Mark Robinson, who joined the football program back in January as more of a general manager type from Texas A&M, interviewed today, Wednesday, for a very similar role at the University of Georgia. So be on the lookout for that. Don't totally know what his role is on a day-to-day basis, what he's doing, but just putting that out there. Shout out to Jacob Redner for that. Let's see. Before we welcome our Tennessee writer, the NCAA is expected to approve increased scholarships across multiple sports. Football is going to go up to 105 from 85 that they have now. Baseball is going to be going from 11.17 up to 34. Basketball will increase 13 to 15. Softball will increase 12 to 25. And volleyball will increase from 12 to 18. And this is expected to be included because of their House versus the NCAA lawsuit.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to still see. So the House has to figure out, the lawsuit has to figure out how they're going to divvy out that money, that whatever billions of dollars.
Yeah, I think it was like 2.4 billion.
Are you giving
2.77 billion?
Are you giving 70% to football, 20 to basketball, and 10 to the other sports? How do you divvy it out? Title IX is a federal law. Does that affect it? I think schools will wait to see, because once the schools start being able to pay the players, they'll probably just mimic whatever the House said. It keeps them from being liable. Hey, that's what the government did, so we're just following suit. It's going to be interesting because I think you'll still be able to find ways to get like walk-ons on for football. And while I've always said that I didn't like that baseball had 11.7 scholarships, I think the fact that you're going to be paying so much money to football players that you're going to lose a lot of these Olympic sports. You're going to lose baseball teams, D1 baseball teams across the country, softball teams, probably more men's sports because of Title IX. You'll lose a bunch of non-revenue Olympic men's sports across the country.
Yeah. Why would the walk-ons be affected? I mean, it's still like, you think football's walk-on could drop because of the scholarship number going up?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there will be a limit on how many walk-ons you can have, or if you can have them, because you're increasing the scholarship. So they're increasing the scholarship number to include, the walk-ons that you would have had. But like Billy Napier, I think the Florida has 130 guys on the team right now. So for everyone yelling at me that they have multiple jersey numbers, there quite literally is not 130 numbers that you can put. Individual numbers.
Well, yeah, conveniently, I think 101 jersey options, right? So,
yeah.
As long as they don't run out two people with the same number on special teams, then I'm okay.
I'd like to see like 8 guys go out and 2 of those 8 are wearing the same number.
I know
that would be fantastic.
It's because you like chaos.
I'm telling you right now, man.
That's chaos.
I don't have any more hair to pull out on top of my head, but we run out 2 numbers at the same I'm pulling my beard hair out. Something, bro. Like we've been talking on the timeline a little bit. The discussion is always like the temperature right now. Oh, we got a guest. My bad.
Yeah, no, you can finish and then we'll bring it on.
I mean, the discussion right now is just where are we at? You know, expectations for the season. The schedule is supposed to be tough. Does Billy get another year if we falter? All of that. I think it's just time. This is Florida. This is University of Florida. It don't take 4 years to get this thing going the right direction, especially with the transfer portal. All the guys on the rosters, your guys, your rank, 11 with talent, blue chip ratio. We got to see progress. Like certain coaching, amateur hour things that went down the last couple of years just can't happen no more, man. Like this is just not that job. The fans are tired of it. The recruiting class is struggling. This is a talent acquisition business. So it's to me, it's like put up or shut up. I don't think anybody should be making excuses for whatever else we take this year. I think at the year 3, this is still the University of Florida. You still was able to bring in some good recruiting classes. Now it's time to X and O this thing and show that you can do your part with, you know, elevating our play. So,
Corey, you bring up a good point. Bet Online just announced their chances of who they think is going to be the first head coach fired, and at 4-1 odds on top of that list is William Napier.
Sam Pittman's got to be on.
Sam Pittman is number 2 at 5-1.
Damn hard to Sam Pittman. It's crazy.
That's nuts. It's nuts. Let's give a quick shout out to our friends, pardon me, over at Game Time Sidekicks. If you see this really cool cup that I have and a number of the cups that we've been drinking on this show, Game Time Sidekick is the creator of these, and they are the best cups in the game. They're like the other vacuum sealed cups that you're used to, just far cheaper, and you get to support a big Gator fan, and they're better. So go support our friends over at Game Time Sidekicks. Use promo code STADIUM when you check out. You will get a big hefty discount on that cup, and use it. It's going to keep your hot drinks hot, your cold drinks cold. I put ice in this 3 hours ago, and we still have ice remaining. So if you're wondering what that sloshing around is, that's me drinking this nice water in my Game Time Sidekicks cup. If you have friends and family of other programs other than the University of Florida, they have a lot of other schools there as well. So go check them out. GameTimeSidekicks.com. Promo code Stadium15. Stadium15. It'll get you 15% off of your order. And with that, we welcome Eric Kane, who covers the Tennessee Volunteers for On 3, with maybe one of the best backdrops we've seen from any guest on this show. Eric, welcome to the show.
I appreciate you guys having me on.
Eric, let Tennessee fans know that they do have Tennessee baseball national champion logos to put on those Game Time Sidekicks cups, and that code Stadium will save them money.
Yeah, out of Knoxville, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Game Time Sidekicks is.
That they do, man. National championship. Tennessee fans have been waiting on one for a long, long time. So they're going to be throwing that logo on pretty much anything they can find.
Maybe the last time for it in a while. So, Eric,
there he is. There he is.
Welcoming guest.
Welcome the guest with a backhand.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Eric doesn't play for the team. So, Eric, give us Josh Heupel, electric offense. A lot of things changing at the quarterback room this year. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name right now, but Nico, the new quarterback, 5-star guy, had a great bowl game. A lot of folks on the Nico train, including your colleague, JD Pickell, who is maybe the conductor of that train right now. What can we expect out of Tennessee? I know high-powered offense, but what can we expect out of Tennessee this season?
Yeah, I think this is a team that's going to have a whole lot of excitement. I'm not predicting Tennessee's going to be back to, leading the nation in total offense and total touchdowns and yards per game and all that like they were in 2022. But I do think this offense for Josh Heupel is going to more closely resemble that unit than the one you saw last year. I mean, last year, that's the first time in, I want to say 5 or 6 years that a Josh Heupel offense didn't finish ranked in the top 10. He still, scored 31, 32 points per game, but I think you're going to see more points. I think you're going to see more yards, and just with Nico Iamaleava is how you say his name.
Of course.
ability to throw off platform, ability to extend plays, ability to process information at a fast clip, and that's kind of what you want in this Josh Heupel offense. So I think it's going to be a team that's going to have an exciting offense. You got weapons on the outside. You got a veteran offensive line. You've got a tailback coming back that's seen plenty of action. You got a defense that has got a lot of experience and a deep rotation up front. It's a new look secondary, so that's a big question mark. But I think it's a team that's going to be, knocking on the door to the college football playoff. And we'll see, if Tennessee can win a big game against Oklahoma, Florida, at home against Alabama, and, of course, Georgia. How many of those games do they win, I think will tell the story of if Tennessee makes the playoff or not.
I've previewed the season a lot, and Nico's last name has put me in a typing blender. And I had to cover a guy named Daniel Imatorbhebhe, which I figured out right before he transferred.
You covered him for maybe 6 days.
As soon as I figured out how to spell Imatorbhebhe, he transferred, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
See, luckily for us, Tennessee's been recruiting him since like 2021, so
yeah.
It didn't take long for us to get the pronunciation and the name, and just from then on, it's just been repetition. So we're good now.
You're putting the reps in. But listen, for me, I will take typing out Mertz over Nico's last name.
I bet you would.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the offense. Brew McCoy, Chris Brazzell, and then Squirrel White. Squirrel White, that's a name that might be at the top of my list for names this year. What can we expect out of the wide receiver group? Is there any concerns about Nico? Talk to us just a little bit about the passing attack. Obviously, we know Josh Heupel's going to throw the ball a lot, but touch us a little bit. I know that there was some graduations and some early announcements to the NFL. So talk to us a little bit about the passing attack and some of these names.
Yeah, I mean, last year's group, of course, you lost Cedric Tillman, you lost Jalen Hyatt, who won the Biletnikoff Award, and those are two big losses, but you still brought back a lot, and that group really disappointed last year. And sure, Joe Milton is very much a part of that conversation, but it's not all Joe Milton. He didn't get a lot of help at points and times. And Squirrel White had his coming out party last year in the slot, and whoever plays in the slot in this offense is going to be a pretty good player. And he was a really, really good player. And of course, Brew McCoy had an early season-ending injury, and Tennessee was without kind of that security blanket for much of the year, and he's going to be coming back. And the big transfer portal acquisition last year was Dante Thornton from Oregon, and he's got great size, great speed. Coaches here at Tennessee were saying, hey, this dude's going to be in the NFL, and it did not work out last year. It started to when they bumped him out of the slot and put him on the outside, and he started to kind of round into form, had a couple good games. Then he got hurt and missed the last couple of games of the year. You add Chris Brazzell, who you mentioned from Tulane, who had a really, really solid year last year, but now he's stepping up in competition to the SEC, bringing a 5-star Mike Matthews. My point is, Tennessee's returning a group and adding to a group that should be fairly explosive this year. And if you get a quarterback that can help them out a little bit, I think that offense, the passing offense, is going to be fun and exciting this year. Something I said a moment ago, and I'll just reiterate it. Joe Milton struggled when he was forced off platform. Joe Milton struggled when he was forced out of the pocket. Nico's not Michael Vick, but Nico can make plays on the run and throw out of the pocket and roll out and all that. And he can tuck in a run. You saw that in the bowl game as well. So I think there's a lot of excitement, a lot of expectation for this offense, the passing offense, to, again, more vertical, less side to side, and kind of get back to what it was the last couple of years when it was really successful.
Yeah, we were very familiar with Joe Milton, for a kid that camped at Florida, just down the road in Orlando. And Joe Milton was the reason I picked Florida to win last year. That's quite frankly, that's what it was. I think Nico fits into what Heupel does, and it's a quarterback friendly offense. Joe Milton just went to the Anthony Richardson School of Off-Season Hype, went to the Manning Academy, threw an orange 175 million yards, did a backflip, and then that's what gets the hype. But I think Nico is much better suited for what Heupel does. It will be interesting, though, just getting that first experience. I know he played against Iowa in the bowl game, but getting that first experience playing at some of these venues and having to go through it. We talk a lot about Heupel and the offense. I think Florida and Tennessee, it's typically about who runs the ball, historically at least, who runs the ball better. What does the line of scrimmage on each side look like for Tennessee?
Yeah, up front on the offensive line for Tennessee, you're bringing back Cooper Mays, who's an all-SEC center. Bringing back John Campbell, who's been in college for about a decade. I think this is literally his 7th year over there at right tackle. Javonte Spraggins, who's going to be a 4-year starter at right guard. Lance Hurd, you're adding him from LSU. Of course, didn't start last year. 2 NFL guys who are still at LSU playing tackle right now, kind of forced him to the bench, but really, really high upside there. There's a question mark at left guard right now, but you got a lot of veterans who have played that are kind of trying to battle that out there at left guard. So the offensive line you feel good about. I mean, I think in the era of the transfer portal, like Lance Hurd's a perfect example. Really, really good guys oftentimes aren't sticking around to wait their opportunity. They're wanting to go seek other opportunities, like Lance Hurd at Tennessee. So sure, tackle depth's a little bit of an issue, but overall, I think this offensive line for Tennessee is viewed as one of the better ones coming into the season in the SEC. Running back, man, Dylan Sampson, again, he was kind of the third head to that three-headed monster with Jalen Wright and Jabari Small the last couple of years, but he'd seen plenty of action. He took over the fourth quarter of a game at Kentucky last year and won Tennessee that game on the road. That was a really, really good game for him. He scored 4 touchdowns against Virginia in the season opener last year. Dude's good. And, Cam Seldon, who's going to kind of be his 1B to the two-headed monster there in the backfield, is a bigger guy, about 6'1", 6'2", 225 pounds, but runs about as well as anybody on the team. So a lot of inexperience behind Dylan Sampson, but a lot of excitement there as well. And so in the trenches, you ask, that's offensive side running the football. Defensively, man, Rodney Garner, obviously SEC veteran, coach. He's going to play, I kid you not, 14 guys up front. There's going to be a rotation there. He's going to play 14 guys. James Pierce is going to get, 30 or, whatever snaps, 35, 40 snaps a game. He's going to get his due, don't worry. But there's a lot of guys who are going to play, a lot of guys who have played, a lot of experience coming back, a lot of production. Amari Thomas, Omar Norman-Lott, 5.5 sacks from the interior of the defensive line last year. He's coming back. Elijah Simmons, who's been there forever. Bryson Eason, who's been there forever. It's going to be a really, really good group up front that was so good at defending the run last year, and we'll see if they can I think they had a near 100 TFLs last year. They had over 100 TFLs 2 years ago. And, again, this is minus Tyler Barron. This is pretty much the same group coming back for 2024.
What do you rank Tennessee in the SEC right now?
So, obviously because of the SEC Media Days, the predicted order of finish, everybody's been talking about this. I think, Georgia and Texas are up there. I think Alabama's the clear number 3, but kind of a tier down. And then from there, you can kind of mix and match a group of 5. Ole Miss, Missouri, Tennessee, LSU. I would have Tennessee probably 6th. I would have Missouri in front of Tennessee because I understand what they're returning and got that 1-2 combo punch of Brady Cook and Luther Burden, coming off a double-digit win season last year. I get the Missouri hype this offseason, and seeing that schedule, it's easy to see why. I would have Tennessee probably behind Missouri at number 6 out of the 16 teams. I would have LSU behind that group. I would have LSU behind Tennessee, and then I have Oklahoma there at, I guess, number 8. So yeah. I'd have Tennessee at number 6.
We didn't mention Florida in there.
Don't like
Florida
that.
would be back there. Others
receiving votes.
Yeah. No,
I mean, six in the SEC, also a playoff team. I was just trying to gauge like the expectations. I know it's high in Tennessee. I do like Nico a lot. I do want to see from a leadership standpoint his intangibles, how it plays out now that he's in, because that just matters so much in college football. Just having the skills sometimes. You need quarterbacks with some intangibles to get you in those playoffs. But just want to see where you rank them with the playoff expectations. How do they rank in the SEC? That's all.
And that's, you brought up a good point about Nico right there, and like I think that's something that he's been trying to learn. Obviously, young guys to not just be a leader of the huddle, not just to be a leader of the offense, but now, hey, you're the quarterback at the University of Tennessee. You're a leader of the football team. This is your team, and so communicating with his offensive lineman, talking to his receivers in between plays, kind of breaking down the team huddles and everything. He's been taking some strides, over the course of spring and summer, but. He's a quiet guy. I mean, that's not necessarily his personality. Right. But I'm with you, man. Right. I'm intrigued to see how he kind of commands this team because it is his team.
Yeah. Well, you get the Duke's Mayo Bowl Classic as like a first away game, kind of. Well, it's in Charlotte versus NC State.
No, I mean Mayo is just the most disgusting thing in the world. Sorry.
Didn't we have their social media manager on?
Yeah. I beefed with the Duke's Mayo social media guy years ago.
No. You lost. Yeah. You lost.
Mayo's a solid condiment, man. Don't do that. Like you can't make coleslaw without it. You can't make tuna fish without it.
So you're fine with getting a bucket of mayo dumped on your head?
No.
There's levels and lines.
No. I just like a good coleslaw, man.
You get a sort of a road test. I'm guessing NC State will travel well to that. It's not very far for them. And then that first big road test in Oklahoma. How much do you think you just learn about Nico handling that environment? It'll be their first SEC game. They'll be pumped up for that.
Yeah, I think that's the tone setter for this team. On my Locked On Balls podcast coming out tomorrow morning, I kind of lead off with that most important, biggest game conversation, because it's been talked a lot about on our board over at VolQuest over the last week. NC State I don't think anybody's, from the fan base perspective, I don't think fans are necessarily like overlooking NC State, but I do think that everybody's kind of penciled in a win there for Tennessee, and Tennessee should be favored in that game. I'm going to pick Tennessee to win that game, but it's definitely a challenge. It's neutral site, but it's definitely a challenge. The way NC State finished last year, upgraded its roster, got a better quarterback in Grayson McCall. I think that's going to be a really, really good game there in week 2. But then the Oklahoma game you mentioned 2 weeks later, that's the first true road game for Tennessee this year. That's the first true road game for Nico Iamaleava in his career. Last year's Citrus Bowl, obviously neutral site. So I'm intrigued to see how he can handle all that. Of course, you're going to have all the national attentions with Heupel going back to Oklahoma. Two teams that I think are very similar, Tennessee and Oklahoma, with the way their rosters are right now and two young quarterbacks. But I think that's one of those games to where if you win it on the road, you can, not that you're trying to, but you can afford another slip up on that schedule outside of Georgia and still be sitting pretty good for the college football playoff. Third Saturday in October is at Neyland Stadium. That's going to be a huge game, obviously, with Alabama. Florida is going to be at Neyland Stadium. That's always a big game. But if you win that game against Oklahoma, you're sitting pretty. If you drop that game, man, like you better beat Florida. You better beat Alabama, because I'm not sure of what team's going to go on the road and beat Georgia. Not many teams in the country can do that.
That's a tough 4-week stretch. I don't think Arkansas is very good, but that's a tough 4-week stretch.
And then Kentucky's right after. Kentucky's right after. So.
5-game stretch. Yeah. Is that weird to have Florida right before the third Saturday in October, right before Alabama? Like, you don't get a bye week or anything like that. Like, Florida might not be at the caliber of Alabama right now, but that's a rivalry game. It's heated to have those two games back to back.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's weird to not play Florida in the month of September.
Yeah.
It's always one of the first couple of games of the year, first couple of SEC games of the year, obviously, in the month of September. It's always hot, humid, especially when it's in Gainesville. It's going to, from like an emotional standpoint, rivalry standpoint, I mean, all these games are tough, obviously, but I mean, those are two big ones. And, to get up and play those back-to-back, and then you're right. I mean, you got Kentucky after that as well, which is a game that means a lot to Tennessee fans, and that's, it's very much like, Florida and Tennessee's history, where it's like it doesn't matter the season, like Florida just finds a way to beat Tennessee every single year. That's how Tennessee and Kentucky are. A lot of those games are not ever easy, though. So a pretty tough stretch right there for sure, with Florida and Alabama and Kentucky, and then, of course, you got Georgia a couple of weeks later. So it's a little weird, but, it's an SEC schedule, so nothing's going to be too easy.
Tennessee right now, bet online, 8.5 wins. They're one of, I believe I counted 9. It was either 8 or 9 teams that have 8.5 wins or above projected in the SEC this year, which is just absolutely bonkers. You think Tennessee's above or below 8.5?
Yeah, I like the over. I do.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm pretty real, pretty center when it comes to making these top of
not
projections.
like the last guy we just had on. Jeez Louise.
I'm not sure many teams in the country can go on the road and beat Georgia. So, say that's a loss. Between Florida, the third Saturday in October, on the road at Oklahoma, there can be a loss in there. And again, if there's one loss in that stretch, I mean, you're sitting 10-2 if you take care of business the rest of the way. I mean, you're a playoff team. So, I like the over for sure for Tennessee. Worst case scenario, I never want to say worst case scenario, but I mean, you drop 3 games, obviously you're still hitting that over. So I like the over for Tennessee for sure.
Yeah, I looked at the schedule. I mean, no offense, out of conference schedule is pretty easy. Outside of that NC State game is really the only notable one. I think they've got Chattanooga, UTEP, they've got Vanderbilt on there. I think it's tough for me to see, no matter what happens against the game against Florida, Tennessee losing more than 4 games, unless, like you said, the wheels fall off. There's, massive injuries, but
obviously never won. You forgot to say it like Dan Mullen. UT Chattanooga.
Yeah. They just go by Chattanooga, Nick. Just go by Chattanooga now. Just like Louisiana. Okay. Louisiana Lafayette, Louisiana.
Better question.
Better
under for Florida at 4.5 from the men and women that build palaces in the desert.
I mean, I think Florida's going to be better than what a lot of people are saying. I mean, I understand this schedule is brutal. I mean, I don't have the schedule pulled up in front of me right now, but I mean that 5-game stretch to end the season, and like that's before you get to Tennessee, and I mean, but Florida's got athletes. Florida's always got athletes on that roster. It's hard for me not to see Florida finding a way to win 5 games this year. So I would take the over.
Yeah. I hope so. Speak it into existence, my friend. The last guy we had on the show thought that Gus Malzahn was going to be the reason that Billy Napier got fired. So,
I mean, listen, he could be. If Florida loses to Miami and UCF, then UCF could. Listen, Missouri's not on the schedule. Typically, since I've been here, that's where coaches go to get fired. Missouri's not on the schedule. Maybe UCF is taking their place.
Yeah.
What does Billy have to do this year to keep his job?
I don't think that there's a black and white number ultimatum. Let's say you go 7-5, but your 5 losses are blowouts to Tennessee, Florida State, Miami, Georgia, Texas, and it looks bad and it looks the same as it has, versus 6-6, and you're competing in Jacksonville, competing in Austin, maybe beat Florida State on the road or beat a Tennessee on the road. So there's a situation or a scenario where 6-6, you could feel better about it than 7-5. Based on what the losses and the wins look like.
My thing is usually what's that, Dan?
No, go ahead. I said that was tough for me to agree with.
Right. Usually in football, you lose close, and then next year you're supposed to win, right? That's usually okay, these guys lost a lot of close games. I don't expect us to get blown out in any game, right? So I don't think
they've lost by 20 in Jacksonville each of the last 2 years.
Oh, but Georgia's a different monster. You just take them out of the equation. I think Texas could be a blowout. Texas and Georgia could both of those could be blowouts by 20 points, that type of game. But everybody else, I expect us to be, in position to win those games in the fourth quarter. So to me, it's a test of, are we getting over that hump? You lose a lot of close games. That next year, if those close games are still close games, and you're losing to your rivals, I know DJ Ladway's sitting in the grassy knoll waiting to take over. And do his thing is one that could hold, the decision makers from pulling the trigger. No pun intended. I don't know how I got to all of that, brother. But
just
in these times,
this is crazy. I did not play any of this. This is crazy, man. Anywho, but I think it's just tricky because of Lagway. But I think what we're all watching is do we get over that hump of decision making? The sending players out, the mistakes, the close games, it's getting over the hump. And I think we just got to see that, engage it from there. But I don't expect us to get blown out in 4 or 5 games or anything crazy like that.
Yeah, I think to answer your question, give my opinion on this, I think it matters how they lose, right? So I kind of said I didn't agree with Nick, but I think at the end of the day, Florida has to win football games, right? I think the days of just saying, hey, we went 6-6, but we won some good games, we were close in the other ones. I think that's going to be tough to grapple with going into next season, where you literally play the exact same schedule, just reversed, right? So right. I think you want to see some drastic improvement, and Florida has to win some of those games this season that they're not favored to win in, right? And right now, the Gators are 4.5, 5.5, depending on where you look, over under on win total. You have to steal a few others. You have to look good doing it. And you can't make, like Corey was saying, you can't make the same organizational errors that you've kept making. Because even if you go 7-5, but it looks like crap, I still don't know if that's good enough. I think Florida, you have to win at Florida, right? That's the expectation. The seat, if he doesn't get fired, the seat will be so hot that I just don't even know how you get the recruiting class you want.
Yeah, how do you recruit after that? Yeah, I mean,
right. Well, they're not right now, so.
All right, Nick. Eric.
Eric, how long? Go join the Sons of UCF podcast.
Anything less than 8-4, and he will still have a sub 500 record going into year 4.
Yeah, but he just went 8-4, so we don't like to look too far in the past, Nick.
I'll take 8 wins, man. It depends. We got to beat our rivals, though. That's just
if Florida goes 8-4,
again, it's just certain games we got to win.
Florida goes 8-4. I'm going full FSU writer and saying that ESPN is conspiring to keep Florida out of the playoff.
That's too much. You're just too much, man.
I'm going
dragging
full
it, bro.
Mike Rowe, dirty jobs. I will be banging that drum.
Hey, Eric, how long do you think a coach should get these days with the transfer portal, different times? Like, what do you think? How long the league should be at the average SEC program?
Man, I think you got a pretty good idea how that year 2 is, right? Like, I'm not saying you're going to be fired. You should be fired after year 2 or whatever, but depending on what that year 2 is, boy, I think you got a really good indication of kind of the direction you're going. I think 3 years is kind of the model we're following right now for most cases is 3 years, and then after that, it's kind of like, well, is he going to keep his job? Is he not? You fire, go in the different direction. But with the transfer portal, the ability to upgrade your roster, to plug holes, to go and find a quarterback. I mean, look at Tennessee. Tennessee in 2021 won 7 games, and that roster was not good. But hey, you got a quarterback and Hendon Hooker that could play, and look at that offense go, man. Sometimes it just takes one game-changing type player at the quarterback position. So with the transfer portal, I think it's a little bit of a shorter leash than what it was. But I still think about 3 years.
Yeah,
same.
Well, man, Eric, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Hopefully we can get you back on before week 6 when the Gators take on, or the Gators game 6, week 7, I believe, when we get into it. But Eric, from VolQuest, let everybody know where they can follow you on social media, man. And really had an enjoyable conversation with you today.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me on, and I'll obviously come back and talk Tennessee football whenever. You guys can follow me at _Caner on Twitter for everything you want to know about Tennessee football. I know the fan base right now is just hitting that follow button. They want to get those Tennessee updates, right?
Yeah, I don't know that you want Florida fans to follow you on Twitter.
No.
Well, Tennessee fans love you, Nick. So
I love hate relationship. Love hate relationship with Tennessee fans.
All good.
Awesome. Eric, we appreciate you coming on, my friend. We will see you in game 6. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your night, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, you guys too. Thank you.
We got polite fans, man. They thank all the guests, man, when they leave the show. Shout out to that, man.
Yeah, he was being sarcastic. During all baseball season, his
we
message
know.
board was screenshotting stuff I was putting on their board. Not a fan of me at VolQuest.
You gotta get some lights in that room, man.
Who's the other school that hates
my
you?
ring lights out, and my fan lights out. I'm just
like you're in an interrogation room, fam.
Feels like it sometimes.
Nick, who's the other school that hates you? USF, right? In baseball?
I think they've gotten over it. But
okay.
Yeah, that was when I said USF's not a very good baseball team. Then they beat Florida.
Yeah.
And listen, I had no idea that there were hundreds of USF fans on Twitter. Hundreds of them.
I still find that shocking.
All several hundred of them found me though.
They gotta have another team too. That's not their only. That's not their only team. They got 2 teams. Probably like Florida State or Miami or Florida as well.
Yeah.
Duke basketball fans, big Cowboy fans.
Yeah.
That type of vibe.
Chicago Bulls, LA Lakers.
They're USF fans. How you're a UCF fan?
I'm not a UCF fan. just went to school there.
Yeah. Let's see here. Gosh, a lot to cover. I know, Nick, we're going to talk SEC Media Days here in a second. There was a motion to dismiss in the Jaden Rashada suit. It is a fascinating read if you want to read it.
Lawyers are great writers.
Lawyers are fantastic writers. He compared it to a Harlan Corbin novel, which if you're on Netflix, there's a number of Harlan Corbin remakes from the books. Alive is one. There's a few others that have come out, but really good. This is just normal procedure. You're going to try to get every lawsuit that you have with a motion to dismiss. There's going to be a back and forth, but it was great reading. Hal Lewis on Twitter, I believe, is the one that posted it, so you can read it in its entirety. Or if you want to go online, you can search that up. But just giving that announcement, let's see. Jack Caglione just signed his deal. for $7.5 million, just slightly above slot value. So congratulations to Jack Toney. All right, Nick, we're at that portion of the program. You got to fly out to beautiful Dallas, Texas to cover SEC Media Days and Billy Napier. Give us your thoughts on the Wednesday that you were there.
Yeah, I thought Billy's, I guess the big quote of the day was that Billy Napier saying we're on schedule, which at face value, like someone's schedule, certainly not the Florida fan base's schedule. But I think what he meant by that is, and I think I brought this up before, like when Mike Norvell was hired at FSU, he had his own set of problems because it was COVID and you can't really recruit during COVID. Billy gets hired, and 6 months later, the state of Florida allows NIL and NCAA allows NIL. And then you have collectives and the transfer portal, and how does the NIL mix with the transfer portal? And he's tried to figure out and build a program while the rules aren't really, there's no sheriff in town, but Florida's still playing by rules that they're putting on themselves. And then the landscape keeps changing. So I get that. And I think his point was that their systems are in place, that they've recruited. I agree with him that this is the best roster they've had. I just think the delivery of the message when you're 11-14 saying train's on schedule, we'll meet you at the next stop, hop on, was received how I thought it would be received.
Yeah, he's quoted here saying, and we're going to talk about that here in a second, I love our team. I really like what I've observed. For the first time, we've got some stability. The roster's kind of stabilized. We've got some competitive depth. There's credible leadership at the player level, 17 starters coming back. We've got close to 41,000 snaps of experience. I've got confidence in what I've observed. I think some of the changes that we've made in the offseason have been impactful. The group's excited to play.
I like it, man, because he pretty much set the expectations. You know, if we're on schedule, he's got no excuses. When he first got the job, he kind of laid out to us that it was going to be a hard turnaround. It wasn't going to happen quick. We was going to have to be patient. Now he's saying that he's on schedule. So, you know, I used to tell my friends I'm right around the corner. And I was still getting dressed.
Dude, I had a friend of mine.
I hadn't even showered yet. Right around the corner.
Yeah, I didn't even iron my clothes.
Dude, I had a friend of mine, awesome dude, still a really good friend of mine. Man, he used to say I'm right around the corner. And this is like kind of when you had cell phones, but kind of not really, or you only had minutes like after 9. And buddy, I'd go like wait outside for him. He'd be like 45 minutes later, and he lived but 2.5 minutes away. Yeah. Oh man. Anyway,
right on schedule. Right on schedule though.
Yeah, right on schedule.
But I think he did set the tone for like expectations. I thought he had good energy. I thought he felt good. The energy I received watching it was he felt good about his roster. He felt good about the season, his whole situation. So it did make me feel a little better as a fan, but I still want to see the product and the results. But
yeah, if you didn't see the quote, here it is. It's long. Change doesn't happen overnight. I think ultimately timing is everything. When we took the job, what we inherited, the work that needed to be done, I think that we're on schedule to some degree. Should we have won a couple games down the stretch? Would I have liked to close some of those games out of the fourth quarter? Absolutely. The reality is, from a system standpoint, process standpoint, in-house, the culture, I think we've made tremendous progress. I do have a bone to pick about the systems and process perspective, but moving on, I think this offseason in particular, after observing things for 2 years, we've made some changes that I think have really made a difference in this team. I'm with our team every day. Ultimately, that's why I've got confidence. What do you guys think? Do you think they've learned from some of their mistakes this offseason? The Gators did hire an additional special teams coach. They made some additional hiring in the personnel department. They seem to go after and land some bigger targets in the transfer portal. What are your all's thoughts on, did you notice a big difference this offseason compared to the previous off seasons, or do we just have tunnel vision and short memories?
A little bit. I think you've seen that they've hit on some of the guys in the transfer portal. I think they were more active in the transfer portal each of the last 2 years. I don't think they really hit on portal guys last year. You're going to swing and miss on some. But yeah, I think from a roster building standpoint, they've kind of figured out with Florida Victorious and donors and boosters and getting money. I think they've kind of figured that out. It's almost like an NFL system with a salary cap. They went and they studied all 32 teams, I think like a 5-year span of how they allocated money to what positions. And they tried to figure out how they can extrapolate that to college football and their needs. And you almost have to be like, hey, if we're spending this, we have $20 million to play with this year. How do we spend that? So I think you're getting almost a professional level front office organization at Florida. And I think especially when you start paying the guys and the schools can start paying them, that's going to be something every school has to do. So yeah, I think the systems, as Billy Napier would say, are certainly in a better place than they were now. But he also said our systems were in place before the 2023 season.
I think the biggest thing this offseason just this is the first year he's going to have a quarterback that's coming back, your leader coming back back-to-back years. You had Anthony Richardson, he bolts to the league. You bring in Graham Mertz last offseason, and it was the players getting to know him and getting his leadership style, hearing his voice, chemistry, all that stuff, getting together. Graham Mertz sounds like a leader at the media days, man. Like he sounds great. Love his energy. So I think that's the biggest thing. I want to see Graham take that leap. I think a lot of things he dinked and dunked a lot last year. Billy spoke on that as well about going vertical more and things like that. So I just like what I heard from that standpoint, from a leadership standpoint with Graham and him off season wise. I think that could be the biggest thing team wise for us. As far as off seasons, I don't know what the workouts and games looking like, to be honest with you, but that stuff matters a lot.
Yeah. On Graham Mertz, Billy Napier said he's earned the respect of players. He's earned the respect of the staff. You think about his journey last year, he shows up, a lot of unknowns, a lot of doubts, a lot of what's his role going to be, has no relationships with hardly anybody on the team. I think he started at a different place. It's like a rookie in the NFL or a free agent that goes to a new team, and now he's in year 2. He's earned the respect of his teammates on the field. Last year with his grit, his toughness, the way he competed, his production, he starts as a leader of this team. It's his team. He's doing a phenomenal job of leading from the front. This guy, he's pushing his team personally. He came back with a purpose. Really liked what I heard out of Graham Mertz, but definitely a lot of confidence going into this season. I mean, rewind this 365 days, and we had no idea what to expect out of.
It was a kid. It was a kid at Wisconsin who wasn't asked to throw the ball a lot, and when he did, it was typically picked off.
Right.
Yep.
So that's where we find ourselves. Let's see here. Cormani McClain, I know people might have gotten caught up in some of the Polkway stuff that he got kicked off the team or just in general. He's arguably had a great last couple of days, couple of weeks. He's still a walk-on. Somebody asked the question at SEC Media Days. His response was he's doing fine. I think a lot of this has been blown out of proportion. I think he's a young player. Obviously, we're well aware of his history. Cormani's a local kid from Lakeland. He's got relationships with players on our team. We run a tight ship. There's structure, there's routine, there's discipline, there's accountability. It's hard these days. You're in the minority if you show up in June, much less the middle of June, because you're a couple weeks late. It is what it is. He had a great week so far this week. He's gained 10 pounds. He's learning expectations. He's learning culture. He's doing fine. He's going to be okay.
Yeah, I don't expect that he'll play a lot this year. No. He's gained 10 pounds, but I think he's still like 170 maybe.
I don't even think that matters. Like size, I don't think matters with him.
They played him last year at Colorado like 155, 6'1", 155.
He looked every bit of 150.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, everybody had the same thing with Travis Hunter. They kept saying how small he was. I'm just like, bro, how big do you want these guys? Like, look at NFL receivers and DBs. They're not huge guys. He do got to put on size. I think it's more the intangible and the off the field stuff. He's just got to learn to be responsible. Yeah, he's immature, and he just got some more growing up to do. And hopefully he can get on the right track. But I don't expect him to play even if we got a good secondary. I think we got some talent there, and guys that are accountable, guys that have their head on straight. So he puts himself behind them in the depth chart for several reasons. But I believe in the guys that we have on the roster to be a good secondary this year. So yeah, we'll see how he goes through the fall and if he make it next year, and then we'll see how he plays out next year. And that's going to be a test for him as well. Like not being the man, like having to wait your turn. You're not in the spotlight, watching your friends play and cheering them on. That's going to be a test for him. It's not going to be easy to sit back and watch everybody else make plays or the lack thereof, and you got to sit there as a walk-on and earn the trust of the coaches.
Absolutely,
especially if there's lack thereof. That's when you start getting feelings hurt. If the season goes south, well, why am I not playing?
Right. Yeah. Some other quotes. There's a lot that you can read on FloridaGators.com, or you can read on 3 about some of these quotes. I like this Shamar James comment about Ron Roberts. He said, Coach Roberts has brought a lot of experience and I would say personality to the room and to the unit as a whole. Coach Robert comes in every day, works to instill us to take it one day at a time and be intentional with our work. I know a lot of Gator fans are excited about what Ron Roberts can do to try to help turn around a very lackluster defense from last season. Nick, any other final thoughts from SEC media days?
Yeah, it was interesting. We kind of just stayed in. They had like holding rooms for the teams. We kind of just stayed there to work. Got to see Graham Mertz and Danny Warfel play against each other in EA college football. Just sat down, was like eating lunch with the guys. Talked with Montrell. He said he got asked about Trevor Etienne in every single room he went into. I'm sure he had his canned prepared answer ready to go, and just read the cue card. Next question, please. But yeah, I thought the guys that were picked to go represented Florida really well. Didn't give us a lot of bulletin board material.
I mean, best dress, man. Who had the best dress?
So Graham and Shamar went sockless, but Shamar was wearing loafers. Graham just forgot socks.
Okay.
Shamar forgot socks, so he went with no show socks. I'm gonna go with Shamar. I liked the green with like the square pattern. I don't know if it was like a gray or purple. It was sharp. A green suit is a statement.
It is.
Yeah. Money year.
Yeah.
Money year. I'm excited to see Shamar James back healthy too, man. In our linebacker room, I am like super positive about the linebacker room. The more I think about it, I was just thinking about it yesterday. Like, I think those guys are going to play different type of football, man. When do we start camp? That's my last question. I know I asked you during the week, Nick, and you didn't know. Have we found out when we start? What date?
Yeah, I think they report the 29th. Camp will start the 30th. It's always 30-ish days before the first game.
Okay.
If anybody's wondering what Shamar James looked like,
pull it up, Dan. My guy.
I like it.
Yeah. Money green, man.
I like it.
100%.
All right. To cap off SEC Media Days, Gators were voted to finish 12th in the SEC this season. Montrell Johnson was named to the second team preseason all-SEC team. Jason Marshall also on the second team. Third team, Jeremy Crawshaw at punter and Trey Smack at kicker. Any surprises of names left off?
My dog, Jeremy Crawshaw. He just doesn't
literally listed.
He does not punt enough, but he should be first team all-SEC punter. He's been number 2 and number 4 in the nation in net punting yards, but they don't punt enough, so I can't even vote for him when my Ray Guy vote comes up. I think Eugene Wilson's another guy, but when I went back and looked at this, the stats, I mean, it's like 8.3 yards per catch. It's like 32nd, tied for 32nd in the SEC last year. So I guess maybe that makes sense, but I think the potential is there. He's a guy who I would expect to be on the list postseason after being left off preseason. I
think he's a guy. I think Elijah Badger could be a guy that ends up on the list. I think Shamar James could be a guy that ends up on the list towards the end of the season as well. maybe somebody on the defensive line.
Yeah, I got Caden Daniels penciled in as a freshman All-American as well. Like, I think he has a very good season. A couple more linebacker capabilities. DB is going to be interesting with the safeties that we brought over.
Yeah.
I want to talk. We just spent so much talk about it. It's 2 hours, so I don't want to like.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. All right, let's get into some final comments here. This came out the other day. Gators lead the nation in number of NIL deals that's out there. 498 NIL deals.
And that's not all Florida victorious either. That's shout out to Ben Chase. A lot of that is people getting actual sponsorships and not just being paid to come and play a sport.
Well, that's good. Final thoughts, Nick. The Gators grab a lot of draft news baseball. Gators just grabbed a UCF transfer in Bobby Boser, I believe, or Boser, who led the team in home runs last year. Nick, give us your thoughts on the draft and where we're at right now.
Yeah, this is probably the best the Major League Baseball draft has played out for Florida in terms of what they get back. You get Ty Evans back, you get Colby Shelton back, Luke Heyman back. All three guys were draft eligible. Bosier's a guy who can play all four infield spots, can also play a corner outfield spot. Broke his hamate bone, which I guess people, when I tweeted that today, didn't really know what a hamate bone was. It's right here. You can break it, and then you can't hit. So he missed 22 games last year, still hit 12 home runs. A really quality bat. I think Florida's done a really good job adding through the portal. And then the young pitchers that maybe struggled as freshmen, I think they're still super talented. Baseball America today came out with their way too early top 25 and had Florida ranked number 2 in the country.
Like to hear it. All right, gentlemen, any final thoughts? Obviously a lot to talk about today. We appreciate you guys joining for a night episode.
No, I like the nighttime, man.
I like the nighttime. We might have to contact HR and vote.
Yeah. No, I'm not against the change here. Let's give one final ad read to our friends over at Alumni Hall. If you are looking for anything Florida Gators related for yourself, your grandparent or your child or grandchild, go visit alumnihall.com or go visit them on Archer Road in Gainesville, Florida. Anything that you could want, from game day wear to the coaches' polos to golf polos to tank tops and anything in between, tailgating supplies and accessories, grilling accessories, Christmas ornaments, whatever it might be. Alumni Hall is the best place to get it. Go check them out, Alumni Hall, or go visit them on Archer Road in Gainesville. Gentlemen, I think we are at the end of the show today. I'm going to be posting this week's episode, so I don't know how to add a song to the week. So we'll just say, go listen to good music this week. The song of the week this week is you. You find something that maybe was one of your favorite songs when you were, I don't know, a teenager. Go hop on a Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, whatever it might be, and go check that out. Gentlemen, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Nah, man, it's live. It's time to lie. Get your last lies in, man, because we don't know what's about to happen this fall. So just get them off right now.
Sharpen your lies before you throw them.
I've been practicing in the mirror, bro. I'm going crazy next week.
I love it, man.
I like Mike. Mike got you up out of your chair a little bit.
Yeah, Mike talking crazy. Mike talking greasy with them Knights, man. We about to smack the hell out of UCF. I don't know what he thinking, bro. Like, his chest is pumped out. And then the other guy talking about playoffs with Tennessee. Like, everybody lying. So I'm going to lie too. Mike lying. The Tennessee guy lying. I might as well lie too, bro. Playoffs. Let's go.
Playoffs.
I asked him about playoffs. I like, what is he ranking them in the SEC? 6. I don't think that's a playoff team, buddy. 6 in the SEC. I don't think that's a playoff team.
That would be nuts if the SEC got 6 teams in the playoffs. And then Nick said if the Gators go 8-4, they're in the playoffs too. So that might be 7 teams. Who knows?
I don't think they're in, but I'm going full like war chant, full Tomahawk Nation, beating down. I might fly to Bristol and yell at them.
What a desolate town.
I would
Bristol
love
is.
an 8-4 season.
All right, well, if we hit 8 games, I'm bringing this clip back.
Yeah. Oh, and we're flying you to Bristol for no reason.
No.
We're just gonna have to go up there.
No, devastating.
Yeah.
We got to storm the building. We're gonna buy you a Viking hat, then we're gonna fly you up there. Playoff, baby.
January 6th. All right. Let's get everybody out of here. Appreciate everybody for watching, listening. Go support Home Field Apparel, promo code Stadium and Gale. Go support Game Time Sidekicks, promo code Stadium and 15, and then go support our friends over at Alumni Hall. We will see you same corner back at our original time next week.